Hey guys, it's Allison. So today's video is going to be an October book wrap up, and I read 11 books this month and I beat my record for August because in August I read 8 books. September I read a couple books, and then now I read 11 books, which I'm excited that I read that many books, which I am extremely shocked about as well. So I'm going to show you guys what we read this month. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Comment down below any videos you want me to do next. Subscribe down below if you're new to my channel, turn on post notifications to get an update every time I post a new video, and let's get started. Okay, so the first book of the month that I read was this book called All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. If you don't know who Ashley Flowers is, this is her, and she is one of the co-hosts of Crime Junkie podcast, and I love the Crime Junkie podcast. And when I heard she was coming out with a book, I'm like, I am definitely gonna get this one. It was definitely a good book. I read it right at October 1st. I read this book and I give it a 4.5 stars. It was a really shocking twist, and I did not expect the ending to turn out how it did. And I'm gonna say this a lot with every book, but that's that. And also, if you guys have read this book, guys, what happened to Margaret, like what happened to her at the end? Like, let me know, because I am so like in like what just happened, you know. So this book was really good. So basically this is about a girl named January. She went missing and they never found the killer of who killed her. And then 20 years later, a girl that was friends with her when she was younger came back to the town to take care of her uncle. And then like all these secrets in the town, all these secrets part of everybody's family, all this happened, and like the girl is trying to figure out who was the killer, you know what I mean? And like something similar happens as well during the present day moment, and it was just a really good book. And I gave it a 4.5 stars because of the ending. Just like was just like, and then it's just like, oh, what just happened, like, you know what I mean? I mean, it was a really good book, so maybe I'll give it like a 4.75. But yeah, that was the first book of the month that I read. The next book that I read was The American Roommate Experiment. And if you guys don't know who Elena Armas is, she is the author of The Spanish Love Deception. I really love that book, so I was excited when she came out with this one, and I give this book a 4.5 stars as well. I read this in a day. I read it really quickly. Like, it was a good read. So I felt like the epilogue could have had more. Like, it was a very plain, like, simple ending. I thought it would have had like more of a like a twist, I don't know, or not a twist, but like a more details, I guess you could say. This was a really cute book. I liked how there wasn't spice until like almost the end of the book. It was like on page 200 and something. That's when the spice occurred, because with Spanish Love Deception it was spicy. This book isn't as spicy as the Spanish Love Deception, so I really like that about that, because sometimes I don't really want to read spice. So yeah. And then I really liked how, because actually when I did read this, I actually have a reading vlog on this. I don't know when that's gonna come out. I did not know that the Spanish Love Deception, well, this book was like a second part to the Spanish Love Deception in a way, like they were gonna have the same characters. So when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening, you know what I mean? So I really liked how we get a continuation of the characters from the Spanish Love Deception. But this book was basically about a girl who went to her best friend's house to stay because her roof came down on her, so they had to fix it. So she went to go live in her best friend's apartment, but she didn't know that her best friend's cousin was gonna be living there as well, because he was coming to visit. And she used to like stalk him on Instagram and stuff like that. She thought he was like really cute. So then they both end up living together in this situation, and, you know, stuff starts happening. So yeah, I really like this book. So the third book that I read of the month was The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. I did a reading vlog on this. I'll link it up below. But this book, I gave it a 4.5 as well. I'm going to be a very harsh critic on these books now. Like, now I'm not going to give a 5 star to whatever book, because usually I'm not too hard to please, you know, with the book. So a lot of these books actually, like, if they're 4.5, they're actually pretty much 5. And I also read this book in a day as well. You can see all my reactions on that in this reading vlog. It was a psychological suspense, and it says his mistress is dead, his wife is his only hope. So basically, a guy cheats on his wife, he has a mistress, the mistress ends up dead, and the wife ends up being his lawyer. And just shocking details come out throughout the book. And let me tell you, I had a feeling on what the ending was gonna be. This was a perfect read for October. I thought the ending was crazy, like I said, and so I could not put this book down. And even though her being his lawyer is kind of like conflict of interest kind of thing, like I just still thought like her as his lawyer was pretty cool, and like she did not hesitate to become his lawyer, you know. This was a really good book. I recommend this book, and I really love how the cover is. The next book that I read was Lotus by Jennifer Hartman, and I really love this cover. And this book is pretty like long, I guess, big, tall. They have really small words inside the book. It was a nice read. I don't know how many days it took me to read this book, probably like 2-3 days. I really enjoyed this book. I give it a 4 stars. Midway through the book, I forgot what like we were looking for in a way, because stuff happened in the book and then like was not thrown, but like put to the side for a while, and then it went back to it. So I kind of forgot like where we were at. And this was about a boy who he went missing when he was little, and the girl that was like best friends with him couldn't forget about him. So like every anniversary, like she would think about him, like every single day she would think about him. Everybody thought he was dead, but he was actually missing for like 20 something years, and then he came back. Their love story was really cute in 2 perspectives, and then I liked their relationship with each other, and I liked how she had a relationship with like the boy's brother throughout the book. Like the whole book was interesting. It had a lot of different like shocking moments in it, but yeah, I don't know why I gave this a 4 stars out of 5, but so the next book that I read was A Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And I actually read this in a day as well. I really liked this book because it was a lighthearted book. It was a really easy read. I just wanted a book in between all of the heavy stuff, like just a simple book just to pick up and read. And this was definitely it, and I really like the cover of them. And it's basically, it says, is it ever too late to leave the friend zone? And it's basically about a girl who was been in love with her best friend since high school, and now they're like 20 something, and she's been in love with him. He's an NFL star. They're really close. She ends up on TMZ spilling her guts that she loves him. So they make a thing where like they pretend they're dating, but then she realizes like he actually likes her, and like it's just really cute. It was a really cute read, and yeah, I would recommend you guys to read this book if you haven't already, if you want a lighthearted quick read. I think I remember why I gave this a book a 4 out of 5 stars. It's because right straight from the beginning, they already, it was in double point of view as well, but he already had admitted that he liked her. I guess I didn't really like that because I wanted to know if he actually liked her. Obviously they were gonna end up together at the end either way, but like the fact that we already found that out, I thought that I think that's why I took off a star, or maybe it was other stuff, but that's what I just remembered, that he already admitted in the beginning. So I was kind of like but then I kind of like really loved their relationship, so it was fine after that. And then I also love the quote from this book, and they would be, mostly he would say to her, he would be like, oh, are you still with me? And I'm like, you'll understand why. But the next few books that I'm going to show you guys, which are the last few books of this book wrap up, I read in my 24-hour reading challenge. So the next book that I read was In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle. This was a really quick read as well. I didn't read it in a day, but I think I could have. And this was about a girl who got engaged to her her boyfriend, and then she goes to sleep, and then she wakes up 5 years later, and she's like wakes up with a whole different boy different house, different everything, and like she's all confused. And then she goes back to reality, and then like she goes through life, and then we find out like how she ended up in that predicament and all that stuff. But I really like this book, but I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. There was some shocking moments in this book, but other than that, I felt like this was an easy read. And I felt like it was crazy, not crazy, but like interesting how they intertwine the guy that she was with in 5 years. I felt like kind of in a way like this book kind of lacked depth, but not really. Like I felt like there was details missing. I felt like it could have been more, you know what I mean? But it's okay. This is the book. Really love the cover. The next book that I read was Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney, and I really love this cover. Nice. This was also part of the challenge. It says, think you know the person you married? Think again. And it says 10 years of marriage, 10 years of secrets, and an anniversary they will never forget. So basically this couple goes to this church to like reconcile their marriage, and we are reading letters in between of like the marriage and stuff like that. This book was shocking at the end. It was kind of slow when I was reading it, but then when it got to the end, I understood why, and like why everything was placed the way it was. I don't know. If you guys read this book, you'll understand what I mean. I gave this book a 4.5 stars. And I also like the 2 things that were said in the book. In the book, they would say to each other, almost always, which was really cute. And MIP, which is most important person. So yeah, this book was pretty interesting. I would recommend this for like a fall read. It says Feeney lives up to her reputation as the queen of the twist. This page turner will keep you guessing, literally. And the next book that I read was It Ends With Us by Miss Colleen Hoover. This book was shocking. You guys already know what this book is about, but the love story with Lily and Atlas, let me tell you, I really delayed myself on reading this book, but this book ended up being a 5-star read for me. I read this also in a day, and this book, you could just feel all the realness of this book, and like I cried, I was upset, I laughed, I was like, oh, like it was all emotions, this book. Obviously, since I read that book, I had to get It Starts With Us. And I did a whole separate reading vlog on this one, so I'll link it up below and down below as well. This wasn't part of the 24-hour challenge. I wanted to do a whole separate vlog of it. It's the second book to It Ends With Us, so this one is called It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. So this is about Lily and Atlas' point of view, and how Lily is co-parenting with Ryle and like trying to have a relationship with Atlas even though Ryle's in the way and like always jealous. This book was not as heavy as the first one. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4.5 stars. Back to the 24-hour reading challenge. The books that I read was, this one was One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is one of my favorite authors. She gets me really hooked from the beginning, and like I could read her books in a day. I gave this book a 4.5 stars just because I think it was because of the ending. I kind of like, I don't know how I expected the ending to happen in this book, but it just happened, and then I was like, I don't know what I expected, but really enjoyed this book. This was about this girl where she married her high school sweetheart. He goes missing, so she thinks he's dead, and then she ends up about to marry someone else, but then her husband from before comes back, and then she has to deal with who to pick. 4.5 stars. I was torn between Jesse and Sam the whole time. And before my camera rudely interrupted me by dying, my last book of the month was this book. It is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This was an interesting read. I think this is one of my favorite suspense books that I have read so far. So this was about a girl named Chloe. She experienced like 6 girls go missing in her hometown, and we find out that her dad did it, and then he went to jail for it, and then all these secrets, and like years later, like I think it was 20 years later, of the anniversary of her father being in jail, all these secrets comes out, the murders start to happen again, and then she's like, why is this happening again? Why is this all connecting back to her? And then I kind of knew who it was, kind of didn't, like who was doing like everything. I don't know. The ending was shocking though, to say the least, but this book kept me hooked. I give it a 5-star out of 5, and I read this in a day as well, which is surprising. I feel like for suspense I need a break and then I go back to it, but like this book I read in a day, so I was really proud of myself. 5-star, kept me hooked. I kind of expected the ending, kind of didn't, and yeah, I think I repeated myself, but yeah, this book I would recommend to read during the fall time as well. That was all the books that I read this month, and comment down below if you have read any of these books before, or if you are going to pick up any of these books. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.